My people of this country and we're under attack. They banning us, they cancel us for speaking the facts. If you man enough.
This is the Patriots Prayer Podcast. It's a tremendous show, one of the greatest shows in the history of the world.
This is Bryson Gray, and you are watching the Patriots Prayer.
PPN, you're doing the right thing.
On the Patriots Prayer Network. Thank you all.
PPN on your bumper.
I'm Tom McDonald. This is the Patriot Prayers Network. Check it out. Lots of good TV. Lots of cool people. Tune in. Keep it locked.
I'm the white boy with the middle fingers in the air, dog. We don't give a what. 100 white boys gonna hold me down anywhere, dog. We think that you suck. My Patriots the craziest. They ain't afraid of breaking fists on faces. If you really wanna taste of this, no safety tip. The same mistake and spray the clip. I pray you miss, cause if you don't, they gon' go wacko. Automatic gun smoke like tobacco. Never hit a lady, but it's pretty hard to tell if you're a girl or a they, them. There's these, that, those. I ain't never gonna take a knee for the anthem. Smack them. I don't give a damn, can't stand them. Gang full of randoms. Fan with a handgun. Run up in your mansion, leave it all abandoned. I was raised to be brave to the grave. United States, we love the country that they've been corrupting. Go woke and go broker if you ain't awake. My people of this country and we're under attack. They banning us, they cancel us for speaking the facts. If you man enough, come stand with us, take USA back. And every time we pull up, all you're gonna see is American flags. American flags. American flags. And every time we pull up, all you...
Welcome, folks. This is the inaugural episode on this channel, but we're going to get into a lot of things tonight, a lot of different conspiracy theories, all the stuff that we know and watch late at night, you know, when we're trying to stay awake and, you know, want to think too hard, those things that entertain you, the Bigfoots, the UFOs, the interdimensional space aliens, portals, and all that kind of stuff. We're going to be talking.
The googly goo-goos.
All of it.
Right.
So one of the things that, one of the ones that always, I mean, first of all, just right out the gate is UFOs, right? So out the back of where I live, I look left and I see Nellis Air Force Base. I look right and I see Area 51. Often I'm out back and I see something that I can't explain. That
great people.
My wife out there and I say, hey, look at this, you know, and she's, yeah, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
And they'll just sit there for a while and it'll go down or whatever the case may be, but it's obviously not a regular passenger plane. And living out here for as long as you have, you get kind of used to seeing those things. You get used to seeing whatever's out there. And my daughters have both seen them. Most people I know that live out here have seen them. And it's quite frequently that you see things that you can't explain. So much so that I think that a lot of people in town become numb to it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's the reality. People see things in the sky all the time, and because they see it so much, they just grow numb to it.
Yeah,
but let somebody new come see it, they're going to freak out.
Yeah. I had a buddy out here. We went out to Lake Mead. We were sitting in Saddle Cove, laying on the hood of the car, back to the windshield, you know, like this. And both of us seen this thing that was moving like a damn firefly over the mountain range of Lake Mead toward the Area 51 side. So if you're at Lake Mead and you are looking south, you have to look over the skyline of Area 51. So that's where this thing was. And both of us were looking at it for a couple of minutes before we realized we were looking at something that was a little strange. And he goes, you see that? And it wasn't until he said, do you see that, that I saw what he was talking about. And this thing's going crazy. And then it just stops. Just stops. And then it goes straight down like this, straight down. And that was the end of it. Never saw it again the rest of that night. Well, after that, I started paying a lot more attention to what was in the damn sky. And the more you paid attention, the more you saw. And you got to understand that our whole skyline out here in the Nevada area is militarized for very good reason. We have a lot of things going on in the desert out in Nevada.
Right.
So there's very hard pressed to believe that if I seen that somebody else didn't, or that the military didn't know it was there. Obviously, it was right over their base. So why wouldn't they have seen it? So was it, one of ours? Is Bob Lazar telling the truth? Right. And I'm one of the mindset that he is actually telling the truth. It was proven time and time again that they said that, well, until Bob Lazar, they said Area 51 didn't exist. Bob Lazar said he worked at S4, which was in the mountain ranges directly behind Area 51. And he was there to reverse engineer alien aircraft.
Right.
Everybody saw him on Joe Rogan. They saw him all over the place. He's consistently kept with the same story for years. They said he didn't work there, that he wasn't a physicist, that he wasn't all these things. Come to find out that he was on the phone rotary list. Right. And he actually came out with like his paycheck stubs and things like that. So it was like, if you lie to me about a little thing, you'll lie to me about a big thing.
Everything.
Right? So all of a sudden now Bob Lazar looks like, he's the one to believe, because he's coming out with the receipts. He's got the paycheck stubs. He's got all the proof that he's being honest. He's telling us exactly what the real is. Right. So if he's being honest and you listen to what he's telling you about these aircraft, he's telling you that these things stand on 3 stilts and they throw up an electromagnetic field in all direction around the craft. So it doesn't use traditional propulsion. It uses an electromagnetic field that it casts out in front, under, beside, or above the craft. So it constantly is pulled in whatever direction it wants to go by using this electromagnetic field. And it has inertia dampeners. And for people who don't understand what inertia dampeners are, imagine if you're going 200 mile an hour in a car and you make a hard right. Well, you're going to be mush on the window. Right. So these things are able to travel thousands of miles per hour, like the Nimitz video where we all seen 16,000 miles per hour. This thing's dipping and diving hard and doing all sorts of things. The human body wasn't designed to take that kind of G-force.
No.
So there's inertia dampeners within these craft that they're talking about that'll allow them to make these hard rights, lefts, dips, whatever, and move with the type of G forces you would need in order to, stay alive in such a situation.
It would negate the G force.
Yeah. Yeah. It would basically keep you like you were sitting still, like the craft wasn't moving and that sort of thing. Here's a video of one of those. So this thing is moving across the skyline. It's got 3 lights. And this is exactly what was kind of described when in the Phoenix Lights situation. The entire city saw something move across their skyline that was, in their words, as big as a football stadium.
Right.
So
don't we have a craft that looks eerily similar to that?
So we do. Hush-hush. We do. Let me bring up an image of that. So this is the TR-3B. And the TR-3B craft is an aircraft that I guess we were never supposed to know about the TR-3B. However, the TR-3B, this is how it was found that it even exists. So the TR-3B was featured on a History Channel, and that History Channel wasn't about the TR-3B. It was a regular aircraft carrier that was landing a jet, and I believe it was on the History Channel or something. And they were filming this, whatever it was, F-14, 15, whatever it was, regular craft. They were filming it landing on the aircraft carrier. Well, as the camera panned in on this thing landing and going past, they have all these other aircraft that are parked on the carrier. And then here's this perfectly rectangular craft with wings sitting on the aircraft carrier.
Right. Gigantic black wedge.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like, did we just see something we weren't supposed to see?
Right. I remember that.
That's exactly what it was. And then right after that, obviously they had to get in front of the story, put it out. And then it turned out that we have these craft that have been kept secret for years. And here it is. Here's a perfect image of it. This is the TR-3B.
Yep. And they're absolutely enormous.
And as you notice, they're not using traditional propulsion for this thing. It has a light in the center and a light at each corner. So the anti-gravity aircraft, you know, it's a thing. It's an actual thing. You can tie this back. You can tie all this back to, if anyone remembers when the Vegas guy did the thing over here with the Tesla, right? He was texting with another gentleman who went on Sean Ryan's show later. And it turns out that this guy knew some things that he wasn't supposed to know. One of them was, obviously, there were some things happening in the Middle East and regular citizens that were taken out that shouldn't have been. Right. And the other thing that he mentioned in that letter was anti-gravity aircraft. And he talks about it pretty hard. And then the theory that he wasn't alive in that car, or he wasn't in that car when it happened. Somebody was.
Right.
But was it him? We don't know, because in a Tesla, all you have to do is have a driver there with their eyes open. So did they pre-program the Tesla to drive to Trump Towers with a guy in the front seat with his eyes open? This is the question.
Right.
And then they said, well, no, he had a nervous breakdown because they took some DNA from him and it didn't match his son or daughter or whatever. So that's why I did it. Right? No, because the text messages sent from him to the ex prior to that were all good messages. Hey, I got a Tesla. I'm in Vegas. I'm having fun. That sort of thing.
Right.
But he did say they were after me. They tried to kidnap me on more than one occasion. Let me see if I can bring up the letter.
But he wasn't up there saying my kids aren't my kids.
Nothing about that.
Right. And that's a conversation you would definitely have. I'm sorry, y'all. Nectar of the gods.
So I'm trying to find this letter.
Yeah, I know that I remember the story, and I remember it looked real suspicious. It didn't seem right.
There was an email that he sent where he was talking about getting that they tried to kidnap him on more than one occasion.
Yeah, that they were after him.
Yeah, they were after. Sleep well. You do not need to worry about your Rose compliance. Just remember that you had to solve my problem. $1,200 made for him, but oh no!
Yeah, I know that the narrative usually spun on most any of this stuff that doesn't look right isn't right. And they spin out these crazy narratives that the average person can actually look at it and say, that's just not adding up.
None of it adds up, but it normally doesn't. And the first story that you get is the one that you get. And then time passes a little bit. And as that time passes, they're just hoping that you forget what took place and stop asking questions in the interim. But we typically don't. But the problem is that a lot of Americans do. They forget. They got a very short memory when it comes to these things. So here's that letter. Very hard to read. But it talks about it talks about the location, activity box China has been launching them from. And when he says them in that letter, what you're looking at, he's talking about anti-gravity aircraft. That's what he's talking about.
Right.
And so, you know, it says, because we sped through the stealth unarmed AC, that's the AC is the anti-gravity aircraft. The most dangerous threat to the national security that has existed. Basically, we have unlimited payload capacity and can park it over I think he's saying any country that we wanted, and it'll be checkmate. And this is the email that he sent to Sean Ryan. This is what Sean Ryan says about it.
Hey, what's up? We're doing an emergency episode here with Sam Shoemate, former intelligence analyst, and we are covering the Green Beret that bombed Trump Hotel in Vegas. Sam received an email from the Green Beret, and
so did we, by the way. FYI, Maurice and I were contacted by the guy sitting in the chair. At the time, he was telling us that he used to be intelligence, blah, blah, blah. If you want to know, hear some real stories, whatever, have me on. And of course, we hear that kind of stuff all the time, right? So, you back burner people, you can't get them all. And we didn't know any better. And the next thing you know, we see him on the Sean Ryan show. We're like, shit, we had our opportunity, right? We had the opportunity to have him first and have him on. But I shot him a little message, basically saying great interview. But once he did the interview with him about it, I didn't want him to come on and do a separate one of the same exact thing on our podcast. I didn't want to follow what somebody else had already did. So it says here, he states that these drones are the most dangerous threat to America's national security. And this was following the drones that came over the East Coast. It was over the New Jersey area, right? Everybody was talking about it. And it was also the balloons that flew over the United States. They traversed most of the country before it was taken out. And I believe it was Montana. Very embarrassing because our Air Force go up there to take this thing down. And when they do, and it's a balloon, and they miss it with the shot. Like, you're in this. Miss that? How do you miss this shot? But yeah, they're shooting at a balloon and they missed the shot, and it was extremely embarrassing. So my gut intuition, and I guess this is Sean talking. This is my gut intuition is this is way too convenient. The Cybertruck bomber terrorists just so happened to write this letter manifesto detailing what the secret drones flying around are. Now, what he means by it's too convenient, I don't know if it means that he believes him or that he doesn't believe him at all. Right. I don't know what too convenient actually means in context to what he's saying. But there are, and there have been, the Nimitz, Rendlesham Forest, arcs out in the middle of the ocean off the coast of Australia. All things
is that a guy
that have been talked
balloons?
About. I'm sorry. Yeah, these
is that
are
a guy riding balloons.
Yeah, that's a guy riding balloons. Yeah, I get you get bored every now and again, brother, and you have to ride a balloon, right?
I've never been that bored.
Here's him talking about
deleted the message.
The burner account on there, I did. He told me to delete it, and I did. It's a common practice. People get spooked and they want it deleted, so I do it for them.
Yeah, I was going to throw that up there, but there's tens of thousands of messages in there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very obvious why he did this, I think. He wanted to bring attention to the incident in 2019 that got covered up. Do you have any?
So the 2019 incident that he's referring to is he's talking about an incident where regular civilians were taken out in a battle zone, right? Or outside of the battle zone. And those civilian casualties, they're saying were covered up. Now, I don't know the ins and outs of this.
So we had a running theory downstairs. I've seen all of the conspiracies. I've seen all the questions about, all right, this guy is 20-year special forces. He just got done with team sergeant time. He is a very qualified and very capable Green Beret. Everybody I've spoken to who knew the guy prior, yesterday I spoke to several people, to include his old team leader, who's now lieutenant colonel, said he was fine. Nothing out of place. His mental state was not something that anybody was concerned about. His ex-girlfriend posted photos of him bragging about how he got a Tesla and all this other stuff.
See what I mean?
So stick with me here.
Yeah.
Very capable guy, but he loads the Tesla up. A Tesla, which Elon Musk brags about being bulletproof, right? So
let's talk about that. If you want to cause damage or harm to a place, you're not going to load fireworks, massive amounts of fireworks in the back of a Tesla, drive it up to the Trump Towers and just make a fireworks display.
Right.
You're actually going to do something. And this guy had obviously the working knowledge and the ability to do just that, if that was his true aim. But if you know something that you want everyone else to know and you need attention on you, you send out these emails, you send out these signal messages to people who will be able to get that word out to individuals. And then you go do that. And now you're in the news, your face is all over the place. People know your name, and now they're listening to what you wrote.
Right.
So the question then becomes, did he sacrifice himself because he believed in this message that he was trying to get out to that extent?
Right.
Very hard to know because he's not here anymore. Well, the question is he here or is he not? Was that him in the car? They couldn't get a DNA match on him. There was no remains. And then first they said there was no remains. And then they said there was a piece of a tattoo they were able to match to him.
Yeah. Because the skin's not the first thing that goes.
Right. So, who knows what the truth is, right? That's
you can almost guarantee if you heard it on the news, it's not the truth.
It's bad that we've actually gotten to that point or to that stage where if we heard it on the news, it's automatically a cover up. But I guess that is probably, if we're talking conspiracy theories, it's probably one of the largest ones that we have to deal with as American citizens, is that we have this illusion of freedom. We have this illusion that we have all the information at our fingertips, and the things that we hear on the news is real. And more often than not, it's just not. And what people are most unwilling to accept is that the news is just another arm of the government.
Right.
A propaganda arm of the government. The other thing they're unwilling to accept is that Fox News versus CNN is this pretend fight, fight that they're clashing with each other and they disagree with each other and that sort of thing. But the reality is that they're causing the clash. It's WWE wrestling.
Exactly.
It's at a level
nonsense.
And the lies are absolutely enormous. And you got to understand, these people have no problem lying. They have no problem lying. I could play footage of George Bush for you after 9/11. Here, let's just take a look.
Yeah. Well, we know that's a lie too. I mean, man, 9/11, you couldn't beat me with a brick to make me believe what they tell you. Again, it's not hard to figure out. They test the wings on aircraft with drywall.
When George W. Bush started his first oil company, who helped fund it? Osama bin Laden's.
So keep in mind, James Arbath, for folks who don't know, is the money man for the Bushes. James Arbath is also the money man for the bin Ladens.
Right.
His name was the only name blacked out in the documents that were released when they were investigating George Bush after the 9/11 incident. And then an unredacted form came out showing it was James Arbath's name that was under there, and they were college roommates, longtime friends. When the Bushes used to vacation in the Middle East, they stayed with the bin Ladens. After the 9/11 incident, nobody was allowed to fly. You couldn't fly. I couldn't fly. Everything was grounded, with the exception of one flight where they rounded up all of bin Laden's family that were in the United States and flew them out of here to safety.
Right.
Also, there's Presidential Directive WI-99Y. A lot of people don't know what that is. It was talked about briefly following the 9/11 incidents, but it was an order that was given by George Bush telling people that they could not, he did not authorize, and they were not authorized to do any investigation into bin Laden or Al Qaeda. This was in the warnings coming up before 9/11. There was an instant message company out of Israel called Odago. 7 days prior to 9/11, there were messages caught in Odago telling the people in 9/11 that rented out space in the towers to get the hell out of the towers.
Right.
And this was at the time, the prime minister of Israel was Ariel Sharon. Ariel Sharon also sent message to George Bush saying, hey, you might want to look into this. We're hearing these little rumors that this is happening and this is a problem for you, and you might want to look into it. Also, a lot of people will be surprised to know that also Vladimir Putin sent messages to warn us ahead of time about 9/11.
Right.
So there's a lot of, the more you look into these things, the deeper down this rabbit hole you go, you start to understand that whether or not you believe this guy's a good guy and that guy's a bad guy, all that good guy, bad guy stuff goes away.
Right.
It just comes down to, is that individual, whoever it is he telling the truth or is he lying? He's telling the truth. And if all of that is true, and let's say that the whole Fox CNN situation also exists in politics. I hate you, you hate me. Secretly, we're great friends. Putin is the boogeyman that we needed to create in order to have somebody to hate, fight against. The thing used to scare our citizenry in order to allow the military industrial complex to build up arms, because what's the sense of building up arms and creating new weapons and investing in war when there's no one to fight?
Right.
So you need a boogeyman.
Gotta have a boogeyman.
You gotta have a boogeyman. So let's finish watching this.
Brother and brother-in-law. True or false? B. After a terrorist bomb at a barracks in Saudi Arabia killed 19 Americans, who got the multi-million-dollar contract to rebuild? The bin Ladens. True or false? C. On the morning of September 11th, 2001, who was in a meeting at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in Washington? George Bush Sr. and Osama bin Laden's brother. True or false? Actually, the answer could be D, all of the above. Because believe it or not, as far-fetched as they sound, each and every one of those things, the bin Laden link to the Bush Oil Company, the bin Laden construction contract after the terrorist bomb, and the bin Laden-Bush meeting on 9/11, is true.
And also, for those who don't know, bin Laden had a code name for the CIA. His code name was Tim Osman. So that was the name that he would go under as a CIA asset. They also said that the CIA visited him while he was on dialysis in Pakistan prior to the 9/11 attacks. Also, the Taliban told us, we're going to hold bin Laden for you. Right? Well, aren't they the enemy?
Right.
Right? Aren't they the boogeyman, the bad guys that we just fought for 20 years in Afghanistan? Well,
only sometimes.
So what it is the Taliban are, they, for lack of whether or not you believe in Islam, whatever it is you believe, these guys don't believe in allowing their farmers in that country to grow poppy because they are religious folks and they don't believe in the use of these drugs. But however, the amount of import of opium from the Afghanis were upwards of 70%. The largest in the world. So the United States got a lot of its opium out of Afghanistan. So one of the first things we did when we went in there and we threw the Taliban out of power is we immediately started allowing the farmers to grow poppy again. Reestablishing our pipeline. Also, there were 16,000 troops on the ground prior to 9/11 in Afghanistan because Halliburton wanted a pipeline to be built through Afghanistan. So the troops were there to guard that pipeline. Throw all of these things together with the fact that Larry Silverstein bought this hotel, these buildings, not hotel, but the buildings, the World Trade Center complexes in a lease. He has a $3.5 billion insurance policy, and the buildings are right with asbestos.
Right.
But to remove all of the asbestos in these buildings would have made the whole investment not worthwhile. Why would you buy, rent, and lease. If you can't lease it because you gotta go in there, remove all this asbestos. You have to pay for this removal. It's a humongous project. But then right prior to the 9/11 attacks, this guy puts a rider in the insurance policy that says if these buildings should happen to fall due to an act of terrorism, I'm going to get paid out twice what the insurance policy
tries the market value.
Correct.
Right.
So when you take all of those things into consideration, right? All of those wannabe coincidences, the fact that Enron and WorldCom was a big thing at the time, and all the records for those cases were held in the World Trade Centers building, or the Solomon Brothers building wasn't hit by a plane, and yet it fell 6 hours later straight down, and what a lot of people term today, even still, as a demolition, not necessarily. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
well, none of that, even then, none of it made sense. Again, you're telling me a plane flew through that building. You could see where the wings cut out the building. Those are 12-inch girders. There's no way that happened.
Supposed to come down.
DOB inspectors and engineers were sent to the Mount Hope section of the Bronx after work crews caused a major walk.
I'm trying to get the actual footage of Building 6.
Well, that never made sense when it happened. When I remember seeing on the news that Building 6 fell, I'm like, how in the hell did that happen?
Then you have Larry Silverstein coming on TV telling people that the building was pulled. Pulled is a demolition term. So in order to pull a building, you have to go in and set shape charges. Thermite is used typically because it goes through steel like butter. Butter, right? So so you're telling me you're able to pull the building that fast? You're just going to pull the firefighters out and pull the building.
Bellow runs. Bennett.
If this is, well, that's after the implosion. I'm trying to get the footage prior to the implosion. All right, there it is. There it is. Now, anyone who's ever seen a planned demo, take a look at this building.
Yep.
Classic crimp. Straight down. I mean, no leaning, no twisting, no turning, no nothing. And there's no plane that hit that.
Yep.
No plane at all that hit that building. And yet look at it.
Yep. It fell right in its footprint. I mean, you couldn't ask for better.
Right into
Could not have asked for better.
And then if you listen to what Larry Silverstein said.
Well, if you remember, the people out on the streets were talking about, they heard explosions coming from that building.
The guy who was in there, who was trapped in there, Bob Hess, explained that there were explosions happening beneath him, which blew him back up the stairs. And here's the interview.
You know, where were you on September 11th? I was home. And
oh no, that's not the entire interview. That's just a piece of the interview. But
yeah. Well, I mean, I remember hearing everybody talking about it. So anybody they interviewed in the street was saying it.
And acknowledge.
Here's Richard Gage. Now, Richard has been on the podcast before.
By the way,
this is him at the Old State Saloon.
Benjamin
I recognize
Rahm Emanuel's father.
I recognize the stuff from behind him. Actually, right now, Steve and Maurice are headed up to the Old State right now for PPN because they're celebrating their 100,000 followers. They've Mark finally 100,000
Larry
followers.
Silverstein's business partner is an acknowledged terrorist in Israel and a hero, by the way. Benjamin Emanuel, Rahm Emanuel's father, dressed up like a Palestinian, planted bombs in the King David Hotel, killing 91 people, injuring 46 in a false flag operation against the British designed to get them out of Palestine. This is actually in Wikipedia. You can go and read all this. It's not conspiracy theory. The Lavon affair, where groups of Egyptian Jews were recruited by Israeli military intelligence to plant bombs inside Egyptian, American, and British-owned civilian targets. The attacks were to be blamed on the Muslim Brotherhood, Egyptian communists, unspecified malcontents, or local nationalists, with the aim of creating a climate of sufficient violence and instability to induce the British government, in this case, to retain its occupying troops in Egypt. So again, Wikipedia, this was a huge controversy in 1954.
This is the guy, if you want to know what happened on 9/11 and who's who and who's connected to who and the whole thing, Richard Gage is the guy. Richard Gage is the authority on these things, who's done the legwork, knows who's connected to who's related to who. Rahm Emanuel was Obama's number 2, right? And it was also Clinton's in the Clinton administration. He was the guy that said, never let a good, what'd he say?
Tragedy
go to waste or something like that.
Right.
He was that's his, what made him so famous is making such a remark as that,
right.
Bill. And then you had John Ashcroft, who was the author of the Patriot Act, which was authored years before 9/11 occurred. And yet these folks all signed it overnight without ever reading it. They never read it. They signed away your civil liberties and my civil liberties in the middle of the night without ever reading the document. All following this. And there was the Project for New American Century, which was a think tank that said, lest there be a new Pearl Harbor type event that takes place, the Americans are never going to go for this. Right. We need to sell this to them. And the only way we're going to sell this to them is if they are
fear.
They need to be
burned
afraid
until late afternoon, allowing occupants to evacuate to safety.
I remember getting a call from the fire department commander telling me that they were not sure they were going to be able to contain the fire. I said, we've had such terrible loss of life. Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it. And they made that decision to pull, and then we watched the building collapse.
We made the decision to pull the building, then we watched the building collapse.
Right. But the problem is it would have taken at least a week minimum to go in there and put enough things in place to make that building fall on its feet.
And then when they went in and they tested the air after the fact, and many New Yorkers got sick, very sick, breathing in the dust and the debris, and obviously the asbestos and things like that were in the air. The concrete, those buildings were upwards of 90 floors, and yet the roof of the building hit the ground in 9.2 seconds. That is basically a 10 floors per second. So that's free fall speed. So the roof of that building hit the ground in free fall speed of the building 1, building 2, free fall speed. So 9.2 seconds, free fall speed, nothing slowing the implosion down, nothing slowing the building down as it falls. And yet you want us to believe it was a pancake collapse, which was the story that came out of NIST after the fact, which means weight falling down on levels would have picked up more weight and as a result picked up speed along the way. But that's not what the physics actually shows us after the fact.
Right.
It tells us that this building fell at free fall speed. And we can time it. We can set the timer and watch the building fall. I was on live not long back with some guys that were trying to push the official story down people's throats on TikTok. And they were just full of it. They had no, liken these people to paid government operatives, because when I came in there with the facts of who Muhammad Atta was, the fact that he couldn't fly the plane, the fact that he couldn't even test out on the plane to be able to rent a much smaller jet. But you want me to believe that he pulled off a maneuver that day.
Right.
No other pilot has been able to pull off since.
No.
They have
No,
these
I ain't buying it.
pilots for 9/11 Truth set up a simulator, which is exactly 100% like flying an airplane in every regard. This thing is programmed to the last T. The other thing is that evasive maneuvers are disabled on aircraft. Means you can't just do hard lefts on a regular airplane for passengers, right?
Right.
Controls won't let you. They just won't let you. Also, there were people in that aircraft that day that was said to be making phone calls to loved ones while they were in the air. Let me tell you, your cell phone doesn't work at 500 miles per hour that far off the ground moving that fast. It doesn't. We didn't have cell phone towers the way we do today. We didn't have many cell towers on planes. You had the cell phone that was on the back of the chair, and you'd have to swipe your credit card and make the phone call and that sort of thing. Well, the guy calls his mom that day on the phone, and he goes, you know, what do you say when you call your mom? Right? Hey, mom. Right?
Right.
I mean, I figure that's what he would say too, but he didn't. He identified himself using his whole name. Hi, this is blank, blank, first and last name. Do you identify yourself to your mom with your first and last name?
I would think she'd have to have a whole lot of children for you to have to do that.
You know,
because your mom knows who you are.
And then his last words on that phone call were, "Let's roll." Let's roll. Where are you going?
Right. You're stuck on a plane.
Where are you going that you need to roll?
Right.
And then there's the Pentagon. Well, you have Donald Rumsfeld, who is there. September the 10th, Donald Rumsfeld does a news conference where he's going to out the Pentagon for misappropriating funds, stealing. Not a little bit of money, $2.3 trillion. And let me show you that.
A lot of money.
A lot of money. Right. Now you would guess, okay, so this building was also hit by supposedly an airplane that stood 75 foot tall with a 143 foot wingspan.
Right.
But it left a hole in the side of that building was exactly 10 by 16 feet. You had windows on both sides of the hole that it left, and they were intact.
And no plane debris anywhere.
Yeah. And the plane debris that was there was, you know, using their own words, smaller than a matchbook. Yeah. But the hole in the Pentagon went through several layers all the way to the inner core. And as it got to the inner core, it was perfectly round. There were no debris left inside, airplane remains, body parts, black boxes. None of this stuff has been made available to us.
Right.
So,
and the engines made out of titanium would not burn.
Correct.
They
a Rolls Royce
melted.
engine. Yeah, it was a Rolls Royce.
It wouldn't have
engine.
melted.
So here's the Donald Rumsfeld speech.
The fact that they can fail and die is what provides the incentive to survive. But governments can't die. So we need to find other incentives for bureaucracy to adapt and improve. The technology revolution has transformed organizations across the private sector, but not ours, not fully, not yet.
Yeah, this is it.
We are, as they say, tangled in our anchor chain. Our financial systems are decades old. According to some estimates, we cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions. We cannot share information from floor to floor in this.
$2.3 trillion just comes up missing at the Pentagon.
A lot of money.
All the people who would have known where that money was, or anyone who investigated to try to find out where that money was, they're immediately removed from their positions of power, and their prospective positions are eliminated just for looking into the situation. So there are people on the inside that came out and said, what you witnessed that day, what I witnessed that day, was the deep state at war with the other half of the government. I'm just putting questions out there. I'm not making any type of affirmations whatsoever, but the idea that the government, slick as they may be, would allow $2.3 trillion to come up missing, report on it, and then the following day, the area that keeps the records of where that money would have been, the transaction records, the financial wing of the place that supposedly took that money, is gone. It's blown up.
Right.
All the evidence is gone. All the evidence of Enron's gone. All the evidence of WorldCom is gone. You know, Larry Silverstein makes out humongously good on an investment where he almost doubles his money.
Right.
We go after bin Laden with no proof that this guy had anything to do with this incident. The president flies his family out. No one else is allowed to fly. Then we go over, we find him some 12 years later, supposedly in Pakistan, and we take him out. And then the guys who take him out can't agree on whether or not they took him out. And then everyone else involved, they didn't know. The guy who took the shot to this day will tell you, I don't know who that was.
Right.
There are 2 books floating around, each from the surviving members of SEAL Team 6, because the other members of SEAL Team 6 were all eliminated. Did they hear too much? Did they see too much? Did they ask too many questions? Were they just loose ends? These are all questions that we have.
Right.
Justifiably.
Did they just know too much?
Did they?
Right.
Charles Strange.
Yeah, no, I don't buy into any of it. Never have and never will. I mean, I personally, because we're doing a conspiracy here, I'll go ahead and tell you, I think it was 9/11 was 100% Project Bluebeam.
Bluebeam is the one with the
three-dimensional.
They can project an image into the air and give it a heat signature.
Heat signatures, air, pressure. It just doesn't have a physical, tangible being.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look, it makes sense. I mean, like Muhammad's passport floated down and landed on the ground, not charred, not burned up. It left the inside of a plane that crashed into the building that was on fire and made it to the ground floor out in the street with no damage.
So it would have been on board that plane, which
just completely disappears through the building.
Disappears into the building.
Yep.
Looks quite strange from this angle.
Yeah,
but also it has it looks to have some type of incendiary device attached to the lower hull of the plane as well. Doesn't look like an aircraft that has people on it, because what do you notice? And if I stop it right there, where are the windows?
Right.
Where are the windows?
It just looks completely fake to me. It doesn't look like a passenger plane. The shape, everything's wrong.
So if I say 9/11, and just there are a lot of different people's takes that I've heard over the years on. There is if you look at, there's a couple of French filmmakers that were making a documentary and following the fire department around that day.
Yeah.
And they,
is this the one from the helicopter?
As they were filming, this is the 5 frames from the Pentagon, 168 films, recorders, cameras, whatever, all malfunctioned, all at the same time. Gas stations across the street, the most secure airspace in American history. And yet we get 5 frames.
That little bitty streak of white light is supposed to be a passenger plane.
Yeah, you don't see any plane. They wanted to make sure that you didn't see any plane.
Right.
5 frames. 5 frames.
Well, I don't care.
And if I slow down right there, as you see, and as it comes in frame,
But a passenger plane would have took up that whole screen.
A whole screen.
Yeah, it would have just
You wouldn't
been
just see
nothing
a
but the nose
fireball.
of that plane.
You wouldn't just see a fireball.
Yeah,
But that's
no,
what
it's
we see. We see a
nonsense.
fireball. The FBI went around and took all of the footage, and then there were other pieces of footage where it showed C-130s flying over the top, continuing to fly in airspace where they weren't allowed to fly. So my understanding is that there are transponders that exist at the Pentagon that send out signals to the airplanes, and if your airplane doesn't send back a signal with a transponder, a serial number, however you want to, relate to the terminology, that your aircraft is not, permitted to be in that airspace, that there are warning systems and things that would just launch themselves to protect the Pentagon, which makes complete sense to me. But this day, nobody was ready. Nobody was watching. The area where the money was kept, the money was protected, all of the records to prove where the $2.3 trillion disappeared to just goes up in flames. It to this day, I think that the American people really need to stop and ask themselves, does any of this actually make sense?
Right. And
Right?
it does.
Does it make sense?
I agree with whoever she was. Sons of bitches.
Does it make sense,
You want
though?
more? Okay. Do you need anything else? I was
Let's see
cleaning
here.
my side of the bed and I was listening to my show. And
Here is I'm looking for, there's a video, and I'm having a hard time finding it, but there's a missile that looks like it's something that's shot at the towers prior to the plane hitting them, and it looks like it came out of the plane because the flash from in front of the plane prior to hitting the tower is bigger than the fuselage of the plane itself, and it happens in a matter of seconds.
I remember.
I wouldn't even give it seconds. I wouldn't even give it a whole second.
It was
It's a
it was
quick
pretty
flash.
quick.
It was a quick flash.
Yeah, but I still, I stand firm. I think what we saw was an explosion, no doubt. But I think it was Project Bluebeam that did it. The reason you didn't see it from anywhere else is because you were too busy looking at the image. You were looking at the plane, so the other image would have came from further back.
What it boils down to is, I think the bigger the lie, the easier it is for them to sell the lie.
Right.
Right. If I tell the lie and the lie is so grandiose, so big, then if I try to tell you, oh, that's not true, like it has to be true. It's too fantastic not to be true.
Right.
And so that saying that the truth is stranger than fiction is very much a real thing. It's a real thing.
Right.
So that's the 9/11 part. Right. So we're going to move on from 9/11. Where are we going next?
That's on you. But 9/11.
There's a million of them.
9/11 to me, that'll never be truth.
Yeah.
So it doesn't, UFOs, everything. So just like the UFOs, we were told our whole life we were crazy. There's no such thing. It was in Congress, a year ago?
That's right.
And they admitted it, and then it went away.
Kurt Weldon, who's in the video that I released about the bin Laden deal, where the guy finds him in Iran and he's actually on house arrest. Kurt Weldon was, that's the guy pictured there standing next to Alan Perot, who was the CIA whistleblower and that was trying to collect on the bin Laden reward money of $50 million. And he was very soon after that recording arrested. But what he was telling them is that my people have met with and talked to bin Laden at least 6 times. This was long after he was supposedly taken out in Pakistan. And the people of Pakistan don't believe any of this either, just by the way. They went there and they interviewed multiple people that were in the neighborhood that took place, and all of them said the same thing. That wasn't bin Laden. So Kurt Weldon, his place is raided, and he's, now he's trying to be on the right side of history and act as if he's, I'm trying to get the 9/11 story back out there. Ron Johnson recently was pushing the 9/11 story back into the media from inside the government. People are asking questions and they want to know exactly what happened that day and what exactly they can do about it now. What can we bring out now that's going to change the narrative? That's going to wake people up to, what happens if the government, if it comes out and it says, it was an inside job. What at that point? What at that point?
Well, the reality is we, as American people in general, we're pretty sure it was an inside job. And that's the part that gets me, and that's the part that bugs me about everything that we go through in this world. Generally speaking, we don't trust our government. That's 9 out of 10 Americans. And we believe wholeheartedly that they lie to us. But they come out and tell us, oh, no, you can trust that this is the truth. Just like I said, Congress said that there was UFOs. Now they're saying there's not. So pick a story and stick with it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to lie to me, then at least keep going and keep giving me the same damn lie. And it's not, they don't tell us the truth about anything.
This is why I like Tim Burchett, right? Tim Burchett will tell you the truth. Tim Burchett will tell you top military brass sat in his office and told him they were real and we don't have any answers. We have no answers for you. We have no ability to defend ourselves against these things. Right. So they are real. And let's see if we can get Tim on the screen here talking about it. Because he talks about it quite often.
We think they're coming in from way out. Maybe they did millennia ago, but they're here and they're in these deep water areas. And that's why, like we say, we know more about the face of the moon than we do what's going on there. And we have a higher propensity of sightings around these 5 or 6, I believe, deep water areas. And so to me, it just it creates a question there. And then when we have naval personnel telling me that we have these sightings and that there's these underwater craft they're chasing that are doing hundreds of miles an hour.
Now he talked to us about this as well, and then he told us that there are things in the water going in excess of 200 miles per hour that are over 100 foot long. And the fastest thing that we have underwater goes about 35 miles per hour. Here's a guy that's just unafraid in every way. This guy is completely unafraid to tell you exactly what's going on, what the military is telling him. He's unabashedly telling you things about what Congress is paying out to people that are blaming them for crimes. Just eye-popping just interviews this guy does. Trying very hard to get him into CPAC this year because I think that he would bring the house down. I do. I think out of anybody that's in government right now, here's a guy that just is really working for the people. Really, really working for the people. And that's why I like him so much. Quite a bit. Plus, he'll take the time to talk to you too. So he's not like the other congressmen that are out there. He literally will pull up and talk to you like you're a regular guy, like he's a regular guy. And the whole time he's on the podcast, I referred to him as Tim. And afterwards, I didn't realize that I wasn't just talking to a buddy, right? Because that's the way he comes across. Is just a regular guy with a regular, regular job and all that sort of thing. But this is a guy who hears things and sees things that we're not supposed to hear and see. And he's talking about these things openly. So he is to be believed. When he talks about most of the sightings coming by way of, being near nuclear sites or off of the Nimitz or below the water, and he says they go in and out of the water without making a splash.
Mm-hmm.
He's to be believed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I've seen videos of things moving in the water that I know we're not capable of doing.
Correct. Yeah, off
You
the
know?
coast of Florida, they had some not long ago.
Well, again,
And
I didn't have the luxury of seeing them firsthand, but I seen them on videos, people that were out and recording what they're seeing. It just doesn't add up. You know, we are not capable of that. And if we are, they need to share that information.
it's weird. I mean, you get to knowing so much about this and looking so much into all of the conspiracy theories that we're consistently inundated with over and over again. And you ask yourself, is this just some big grand experiment? And if it is, what part in this experiment are we playing?
Right.
Right. Or is this the giant joke just pulling all of us?
Right. Making us look like fools.
Or is this our government? Or is this the trickery they're trying to pull on us to get us under the one world umbrella? Because that's the thing, right? Didn't Ronald Reagan say, if there was a threat, an existential threat outside of this world that came against us, you know, how fast we would come together to something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but essentially that. And now you got FBI agents coming out saying that that's exactly what they're planning eventually, is that get ready for the fake UFO invasion. And then all these drones off the coast of New Jersey and people saying they're coming off of Chinese ships and others saying that's not true. The Biden administration saying we don't know what they are. Trump comes in and says the FAA knows exactly what they are. They gave them permission. Like, which one do we believe?
Right. Pick a story and stick with it.
Yeah. It's like one side of the government is lying. The other side of it's probably lying too, but for their own reasons.
Right.
And, you know, maybe they're both lying. And if that's the case, what is the real truth? It's so hard to read these things. It is so hard to understand and read these things.
And you probably remember too, about 10 years ago, the conspiracy was going around that there was going to be a Project Bluebeam with the aliens invading, and Jesus Christ was going to come from the heavens to save humanity.
Yeah. Well, that is the Islamic religion, a nation of Islam, I should say, not Sunni Shia Islam, but Islam in the United States. A nation of Islam is what they term as a UFO cult. They believe that a UFO is going to come back, and that's where their savior is going to come from. However, I'm a firm believer that Christ already came back, and I believe he came back in 70 AD, right following the 42 weeks of war that took place from 66 to 70. And I believe exactly what Josephus and Tacitus wrote in that book. And I believe that we've been lied to, and they took years off our calendar. I don't believe we're in 2026. And I don't believe that John wrote the book of Revelations at the age of 95. I think those are things they try to tell us and feed us so that we can never really get a good grasp on the truth. And that's what would happen in a world that's actually ran by evil people.
Right. Well, if you take a look again, conspiracies, there's buildings that have dates, the date code on the corner of the building. There's pictures of those date codes. And then there's modern pictures of that date code, and it's 1,000-year difference. How does that happen? How does a building?
How long is the reign of Christ on earth where there's a time of peace?
Yeah. Right.
Exactly.
1,000 years.
1,000 years.
Right. The Dark Ages.
Very, very hard, you know, for people to fit that square in that circle.
Yeah.
To try to come up with a good reason why these things all add up to what's, you know, in prophecy. Because it just can't be that exact. It can't be that, you know, right on the money.
Cut and dry.
Yeah. It can't be that right.
Yeah.
You can't be that on the money. So what I have to do then is tell you that the people that wrote those prophecies wrote them after the prophecies already came true. That way it seems like, oh, they didn't know. They only wrote that stuff down after it happened.
Right.
That's why they knew. So you tell people, oh, the book of Matthew was written 400 years later. Of course they knew. That's why they wrote it. But it wasn't. But it wasn't. And it doesn't work
that's
out
the thing. Eddie, I hate to say it. I mean, and you and I talk regularly. We have a lot of people we talk to. If you really take the average person and talk to them, they're fairly naive. and they want to believe what they're being told.
I feel
with
for
no
those people.
rational comprehension of how ignorant it sounds.
I feel for those people, and I also envy those people on a level because, and their worldview that they have is sheltered, right? I don't have that. I don't have that luxury of turning the news on and not and just believing what I'm told and not understanding that everybody's against you. There's no good guys, and you're being lied to from every direction. And you know, there are very evil people in this world that lie for a living, and they're not who they pretend to be. And that you don't ascend to the type of power that these people have ascended to over the duration of time they've been in business or in politics or whatever, without some way, shape, or form, you know, putting yourself in a position of compromise. Right? Somebody's going to compromise you. Somebody at a much bigger level than you are, playing the game at a much higher level than you do, is going to come down with an ultimatum to you at some point and say, you know what? You've made it this far, but if you want to take this any further, here's what we're going to do. Yeah. Put the dress on. You know,
put the dress on.
But here's what we know about you, right? Oh, that phone call was private. How did you get that? That email was private. How did you get that?
Right.
Those pictures aren't real. Well, they'll think they're real. And that's what
that's all that matters. Right. And that's the reality we live in. I mean, nowadays with AI being what it is, they can make anything they want.
That's right.
You know,
and people won't question it. People won't question it. So long as they hate the individual that you're telling the lie about, they are going to be willing to accept it before they're willing to find out if it's true or not.
I'm going to tell you what, and this is just me saying it, and I'm nobody. But if you put an AI of Trump kicking puppies, everybody's going to believe it's true. Put the cutest little puppies you ever seen and have Trump punting them everywhere, and they're going to believe it.
That's right.
They will. They just hate the man.
They'll buy it. And trust and believe, if any of the things that they have said about Trump over the years had been true,
they'd have had him
I would
under the jail.
I would have found out. I would have when I would have did research. I'm not researching from the perspective of a liberal or a Democrat.
Right.
I'm researching from the perspective
for the truth,
from a Christian perspective, right? So I'm looking at things in terms of what does prophecy say? Where are we at in the timeline? Because if my Bible is saying one thing, but the news is saying something else, I'm dismissing what they're saying. And I'm going to know to look further, because there's obviously another story that we're not being told. And all too often when that happens and I dig deeper into those things, that's exactly what I find out. I find out there is a story we're not being told.
Right.
And are there supernatural things in this world? Things beyond, things that we don't know about? Absolutely. What's happening at Skinwalker Ranch is undeniable.
That's crazy.
It's undeniable. Portals opening up in midair. Things coming through them, UFO sightings on a daily, physicists out there shooting rockets into something that diverts the rockets and appears to be solid, but only through certain types of light or recording equipment, but you can't see it with the naked eye. Blind Frog Ranch, which is right next to it, they're out there finding fragments of things that fell from outer space. And when they scan the ground, they come back and say, hey, I got to talk to you. There's something really wrong with what we're finding underground here, because it looks like a singularity. And for those of you who don't know what a singularity is, I'm talking about a black hole. So all of the necessary ingredients for singularity, black hole, whatever the case may be, are alive and well underground in these ranches. So these people are very perplexed. Robert Bigelow owned that property for quite some time. Robert Bigelow is a very big believer in, aliens and things like this. He's a billionaire. Bigelow Industries is not far from me. And this is a guy very well protected, very secretive, very like Howard Hughes-ish, if you will. And so he's not somebody who does a lot of interviews and things like that, but he's somebody to be taken seriously because he's invested billions, maybe millions of whatever dollars into finding out that, you know, the secret is, what is this? Is this true? Is this real?
Right. I know he invested a lot of money. I don't know the exact amount, but I know it's
But I don't understand
money.
why he sold the ranch. I don't understand why the government took the ranch and then gave it away. What I don't understand is if the U.S. government had control of Skinwalker Ranch with the things that are occurring on the Skinwalker Ranch on a regular basis, why in the world they would sell that back to a civilian?
Well, it makes you wonder if maybe they got what they needed out of it and then went ahead and just released it.
Or, I mean, it's just the same thing with the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church has this telescope and invested all this money into finding out about UFOs and things like this. And then what do they name their telescope? Lucifer.
Right.
And then they go, what was it? Last year they
now,
went
isn't
and
that
they
the
opened-
telescope? Isn't that the telescope that supposedly sees back in time?
No. I never heard that. I heard there was like some device.
Yeah, I
that they
want to
had,
say it
like
was a telescope that they could go back in time and see something back. I thought that was it. So maybe I'm wrong. But I thought that that's what that was.
Let's take a look. I put in here a Lucifer telescope. Beelzebub. Weirdos. Let me put the word Catholic in here. Maybe it'll narrow it down. The Pope is praising. Check this out.
The imminent emergence, the near advent of the coming to light of the Antichrist.
What the hell is the Catholic Church doing, bro?
What?
Christ is your son? Now we just happened upon this. This wasn't planned, but they did last year open Lucifer's tomb. Like they have these tombs and they go into and they open them
in the catacombs.
In the catacombs, yeah, and they open this one up. And the people who walk through it, as they walk through it, you can see, like, let me see if I can find it. It looks like their faces change.
Yeah, demonic for sure. I want to say I seen it was like the Pope that walked through it, and he definitely did not look good.
So here's Lucifer's tomb.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to get the image of the clergy walking through.
I can't believe what I just seen on the screen.
Oh, I can absolutely believe it. I am not a fan or a believer in Catholicism. Catholicism does not follow biblical principles at all.
I believe wholeheartedly that Vatican is not a good place.
I believe it's what we called in the Bible. It's called the New Babylon. So I think that is what we're looking at. And the Pope is, I mean, especially with this last one, they had what's called the prophecy of the popes. And when I forget the name of the saint, whoever his name is, he went down there, and he's just taking this little trip to the Vatican for the first time, this pilgrimage, if you will. He's going to show up to the Vatican, and he's going to see it for the first time. And he walks in and he sees this gold everywhere, and these people are living lavishly, but these guys have taken a vow of poverty. And even though they've taken a vow of poverty, he looks around and see all these riches, and they're getting rich off the people and everything. He walks in, he rips his robe, which is like some type of like, this is blasphemy, right? He runs out, he kneels down, fasts for days next to this river. And he writes down what's called to this day the prophecy of the popes. And I'll pull that up, actually. The prophecy of the popes, where he actually names all the popes all the way to the last pope.
Right.
So he gets like a lot of these scary right.
Yeah, yeah.
Scary right. And the very last pope is supposed to be something called someone called Petro de Roma, Peter the Rock, right?
Right.
So then it said that Ratzinger, the one who retired, which a pope never does. Pope retires. Right. You die in office. That's what you do when you're pope.
I never seen a pope retire.
But he started turning over the priests that were doing all these horrible things.
Right.
And they're like, we can't afford, essentially is the story, to have you in this place of power. You can't be.
Right.
So this guy retires, and then instead of letting him finish out his time in office, he retires. Not Leo. What's the next pope? Francis. Francis comes in. So he takes the name Pope Francis. Come to find out that his mentor, or whatever, they usually take the name of whoever mentors them into the faith.
Mm-hmm.
That's where their names come from. It turns out that his mentor's name is Petro de Roma. So his name that he was supposed to have taken was Petro de Roma. Mm-hmm. Now, the question is, did this guy get the prophecy of the popes wrong? Because now Francis is gone and we have a new pope. So obviously he wasn't the last pope. But what's scary, crazy about the whole thing is that he got so many of them right. I mean, dead on. Like,
if this guy would have took the name he was supposed to have, it would have been right.
It would have been on the money. So
what if I told you that there's an ancient prophecy that's been hidden for centuries, and it foretells the reign of one last pope? What if I told you that Pope Francis, the man sitting on the throne of St. Peter right now, matches the prophecy in chilling detail? And now, as whispers of peace and safety echo across the globe, sudden destruction looms. This isn't just a conspiracy, people. This isn't wild speculation. This is the prophecy of the popes. You see, in the 12th century, an Irish bishop named Saint Malachy received a vision of all future popes, carefully documenting 112 cryptic Latin phrases, each corresponding to a future pontiff. For centuries, this prophecy remained hidden, only to resurface in the 16th century with shocking accuracy. It ended with the 112th pope, the final leader of the Catholic Church, a pope only known as Petrus Romanus, which means Peter the Roman.
Peter the Roman.
This final pope, according to prophecy, would shepherd the church through its great tribulation, witnessing the destruction of Rome itself. Many dismissed the prophecy, laughing at the idea that it could mean anything for our modern world. Until now, that is. Because Pope Francis is the 112th Pope. You heard that right. And as of today, he is in the hospital, gravely ill with double pneumonia. And according to this news article and others, he doesn't believe he's going to make it. Now, let's be clear here. The timing of this is disturbing. For the first time in modern history, the Vatican has been at the center of a global movement towards religious unity, drawing Christianity closer to Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism.
This guy brought in all sorts of holy relics from other religions, Islamic religions, and just pagan ritualistic items into the Vatican. And I mean, he was telling the parishioners to accept homosexuality. One of the most liberal popes in my lifetime, of anyone's lifetime, really, because this guy wasn't actually pushing scripture. He was involved socially in the social aspect of the body politic across the world. Then he tried to tell the United States that having walls is immoral. Well, have you ever seen the Vatican?
Right.
Surrounded by walls, but somehow or another having a wall is immoral.
Right.
But he's got walls all around
right.
the Vatican. And now you see many of the people have been in Christendom throughout history accepting and dealing with and talking to and bringing into their fold people from the Islamic faith, like the House of Windsor, or what they call the royal family. You know, they're had a lot of dealings with Islam, and it's very strange to, you know, some of the stories that have came out of this. But this guy walks into the tomb of Lucifer, and as they do, their faces all morph or change into something else.
Yeah.
Very,
Something
very weird.
definitely demonic.
The problem is, and where it falls apart, is he wasn't the last pope.
Right.
So this is how I believe Satan works. Because you have to believe that if this guy who tore his robe yelling blasphemy about the Catholic Church received a vision from what he thought was God, but if you're a Bible believing Christian and you actually open your Bible and read it, you would know that most of what these people preach and teach is apostate. It's not, it's heresy. You don't call a man father. You don't pray to people. You have no beads. There is no pope. When Jesus talked to Peter and said, "Who do you say that I am?" And Peter said, "You are the Son of the living God." Jesus said that it's on this that I will build my church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. One, he was standing in front of a place called the gates of hell. So I'll show it to you. And this is where at Mount Sinai and Mount Sinai, let's do this again. I forgot to put gates of hell. So there used to be, the story goes that there was a well that came out of the mouth of this cave.
Yeah.
And in this cave, they would try to drop, I'm not finding it.
Yeah, the microphones and such.
They dropped a plumb line. And this plumb line would never be able to hit bottom. And that's the reason why they call it gates of hell, because they thought it was bottomless. So when Jesus said that, he was standing in front of what they termed to be the gates of hell. This is also where a lot of cult rituals took place. So he was thrown, he's standing in front of it right now. And that's exactly where he is.
Considered the gates of Hades, or the gates of hell, that Jesus referenced in Matthew chapter 16. What were the gates of hell, or the gates of Hades? This was the entryway to Hades, and it was also a temple to the god Pan. Pan was the half god, or half man, half goat god, and it was considered he was considered a god of revelry. And people, in order to get better crops, would sacrifice their babies by throwing them into.
So this is why I'm telling you, there was all types of occult behavior. When Jesus was there and he was speaking publicly. And what he wanted to do was make himself loud enough to be heard by all the people around him, not just his disciples. He was throwing down the gauntlet. Jesus was like, this is what's going to happen. And you punks are not going to be able to do a damn thing about it. And what he was talking about were the gates of hell and his church, and what it was going to stand on. It had nothing to do with making Peter the Pope, because that had already been established when the disciples came to Jesus and said, "Which one of us is the greatest?" And Jesus said, "None of you. You're all servants of the living God. None of you are above the other one." Right. Also, is the same thing when his mother knocked on the tabernacle door while he was inside teaching, and they said, "Jesus, your mother's here to see you." And he said, "Who is my mother? Who are my brothers? Those who do the will of my Father in heaven." And then he goes out and says, "A woman, what do you want of me?" He never referred to Mary as his mom. He always said woman from the time he was 12 years old when they were looking for him and he was in a temple and they lost him for 3 days. They go back and find him and they said, woman, wouldn't you know I would be in my father's house? So he never referred to her as mother, and yet they treat her like a deity. And I'm not saying that she doesn't deserve a certain respect for the role that she played, but not the kind of respect that would allow, us to treat her as if she herself is a deity. This is the heresy part, right? This is where I break with the Catholic faith. Praying to saints is another thing. And then I think that the beads and the statues and all of that are all very much pagan. The statues, a lot of them are statues of the goddess of Saturn, which they turned into the Mother Mary. And then the saints, where they may have the statues. Oh, this is the Padre Pia, and this was his scarf, and this is the original piece of the cross that Jesus was sacrificed on. Well, to a Christian, that's just a piece of wood.
Right.
It's not anything. I mean, it may have some historical significance to it. It might be a neat thing to see, but it's not got any power. It's not got any of those things. So the fact that there's a holy relic of some kind or some type of, Jesus used this cell phone, and it's like the beds in town here a little further down from where I'm at. Elvis slept in this bed, like that kind of stuff.
Right.
Who cares? None of these things have anything to do with scripture. None of these things. But when you actually look into the history of it, like this guy is doing right now, he's standing in front of the gates of hell where Jesus stood and gave that message. But never at any time did Jesus create a king and put it over the church. Matter of fact, God consistently told the Hebrews, so I make sure that I distinguish the difference between those and Jews, because Israel was at war with Judah. Judah truncated down would be Jews. So the Jews were the people of Judah, or the tribe of Judah. And they weren't good people. They were the Pharisees. They were the Sadducees. Those were the people that sacrificed, crucified Jesus. And he did not like them. As a matter of fact, most of his time on this earth giving religious arguments based on scripture were battling those people. And then when you look at the history of the Ashkenazi and the Khazarians and how the Rothschilds played a big role in creating modern day Israel, then you find out that the people they're terming Jews that are over there now, they're not
Jews.
They're not.
No.
And a lot of this was very hard for me to accept. I mean, extremely hard, because, man, I tell you what, October the 7th, I was damn near willing to hang an Israeli flag behind me on this set. I was interviewing IDF soldiers that were in the field. I was 100%, 110% on their side, because I believed that standing for, with, and by the Jewish nation was the same exact thing as standing for, by, and with my Savior. And I tell you what, that was a hard barrier to break down. That was a hard thing to accept. But like most things, once I see that something that's said is true, I have to accept it. I have to move forward with the premise that that's true. I can't hold on to my feelings, because here's the truth. So my feelings, when they don't equate to what's true doesn't have to change. My feelings do. So I had to let that go. And then it was a lot to do with folks like Ian Carroll, Ryan Matta, and other friends of mine who continually took such a hard stance against Israel that I mean, when I first heard these guys, bro, I hated them. I turned Redacted off. They didn't like Clayton and Natalie. These are anti-Semites, right? That was my position. But I don't know. I mean, I kept listening anyway. And when you don't break yourself off and just take your brainwashing lightly, and you start to listen, and then you research to see if you check in yourself, right? You're consistently testing the things that you know against the reality you're being told. Is it true? Have I studied this? Do I know enough to argue against it? How would I defend my position against people who are taking the position that they're taking currently?
Right.
And so if I can't defend my position and the things that I'm researching about what they're saying are true, then I have to let that go. I have to admit defeat. I have to admit I was wrong. And if I do, and I am wrong, then what is right? And what is right led me to this down this road right here.
Hades. When Jesus came here and referenced the gates of hell, he said the gates of hell will not prevail against the kingdom of God. He was essentially saying that God will be successful in bringing people who are headed to Hades to him, and that Christians are supposed to be the ones bringing that message. And that message is still the message we have today.
So earlier today, you and I were on a live with a mutual friend. I could have embarrassed her.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I could have embarrassed her because she was defending Buddhism. Buddhism saying that Christians should not be out there saying what they believe.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
they should.
Yeah, but I so the video she was speaking of, they weren't Christians. They were claiming to be Christians.
Well, that's just
And
it,
you could
because
tell that,
Christianity is held up to the light of Scripture.
Right,
It's not
but
by
these
an
people-
individual just claiming to be Christian.
Right. These people, if you would have seen it, you'd understood what she was trying to say.
Here's
but
the
she
thing,
was
though.
just not delivering it correctly.
Here's what she doesn't know about her own religion. People who are truly Buddhists don't have families. If they do have a family, when they convert to Buddhism, they leave them, because a Buddhist has no earthly connections, nothing. So fathers leave their families, just abandon them, because they cannot love anything on this earth more than they love another thing.
Right.
So they just leave their families destitute, shave their head and go live in the mountains. And you tell me that sounds anywhere near loving at all. You abandon your child.
No. Right.
But that's what their
I couldn't
religion
imagine
teaches.
that.
That's what their religion teaches. And here, I'm gonna bring it up here.
I couldn't imagine, and I don't understand that about any person. You know, how you can walk away from your child is so, it's heinous. I can't even fathom that.
Evil. Heartless.
Yeah, I mean, heartless. Absolutely. I just can't fathom how a person can do that. You know, my children, my grandchildren, that's what matter to me.
Well, that's
All the
just
rest-
it, right? That is your, God made us in his image. He gives us children to see if we will mimic the love that he has for us to our own children.
Right.
And so as parents, we're judged based on those premises. So your children are a blessing. They're not a curse.
Right.
And the people typically that take the stance of, and I say all, but a lot of the people that take the anti-Christian stance on most things, the reason they do is just because they'll accept anything but Christ. They just don't want it to be true. So they will they'll choose anything. They will choose absolutely anything. Doesn't matter what it is, but they do not want to give any homage whatsoever to Scripture. And they detest it and they hate it. If you bring it up, they get angry. It's really, really like that. So it says Siddhartha, not the Buddha. left his royal family at the age of 29, seeking out at night shortly after his son's birth to become an ascetic, seeking an end to the suffering. So this is where they get the scriptures from about the where the people abandoning their children comes from. It says labeling him as a deadbeat dad, or pointing out that the emotional harm to his wife and children that he left behind. Defenders of this argue that it wasn't abandonment, that the modern sense that his family, wealth, insecurity are all tied to he later reunited with them spiritually in the next world, right? In the next world, in the one beyond this.
So effectively, he went out for milk.
Yeah, I'm gonna go grab some smokes. I'll be right back. And this is okay. This is loving.
Right.
Now,
right.
Anything that you find in Buddhism that you think is edifying to you spiritually, I would argue you're going to find that same thing in Christianity.
Yeah,
every single aspect. Whether it's you manifesting something, that is the same thing as having faith. Just putting into new age language, let's have faith and believe that this thing is going to come to pass. And then it does. And then that's what they call manifesting. So I would argue that most religions borrow something from Christianity and then just put their own little spin on it. But the idea that Christianity is going to go into any country or place and tell you what you must believe,
right,
and feel and think, that's not what happens.
Yeah, and she's a good person, but sometimes her stands don't make sense. You know, and so that was my comment while we were on that live, is I know I have at least one or more Democrats in this room, so I'm saying this. And I don't know that she's a Democrat, but sometimes her logic is definitely
hiding
a Democrat.
She's hiding in plain sight. I've gotten plenty of video reposts from that individual that a conservative wouldn't even consider sending, and a no conservative will consider defending Islam.
Yeah, no. And again, anybody that does, just my brain can't comprehend that.
Or the immigration laws that the Democrats would rather be in place. Right. And I don't know if you know this, but yesterday they ended all welfare for immigrants. All welfare. It's done.
That's good.
More free handouts. It's over.
So then we're not going to see that video from that schmuck again talking about I get a free apartment and all this free food,
nothing, bro.
And I drive
no
a car.
No housing vouchers. No nothing.
Good.
Period.
Good.
Nothing. The federal government supplies nothing.
That's good. We got veterans in this country that are homeless and hungry, and yet we got immigrants getting everything. We have people that sacrificed everything for this country come back mentally or physically not the same.
Yeah, well, incapable.
And they have nothing.
Incapable of being the same.
Right. Some of the things they go through, you can't go through those things and be right anymore.
No,
and instead of supporting them, you're supporting an immigrant that's illegally here.
Yeah, and that's what they did in New York. That's what they did in New York, and they should be ashamed.
Oh yeah.
But
so when you pulled up the towers, I couldn't help but to relive that. And I thought to myself, every person that watched that happen, and most of us are still here. Every person goes back and watches that. If they still have the same stand today after watching what happened on 9/11, you know what I'm saying? If they can't pull back to the moment and how that felt in your heart, how that felt spiritually and emotionally, that was heavy. You see what I'm saying? If you can stand and say, we should be out there fighting for the immigrants, then maybe you forgot what you felt that day. I know I didn't. And, it just hurts me to see. Again, I mean, we talked about this the other day, man. You got schools teaching children to go out and protest.
Yeah.
That's not what they're there for. This is crazy.
We felt an attack on everything that we are. our way of life, what we stood for, our freedoms, our culture, our heritage, our history. We felt an attack to tear down the United States. And in the face of that attack, what did the United States do? They complied, because what they did was they took our freedoms, instituting the Patriot Act. Right. So did the terrorists succeed is the ultimate question. And then, you know, after that happened, it was like, well, if you're doing nothing wrong, then you got nothing to worry about. You don't need your privacy. You don't need what you need is security. Don't you agree that we should make ourselves more secure? Well, if you think that the only way we can be secure is for you to take my privacy, take my civil liberties, then what are we protecting at that point? Because now we're not what we say we're protecting. You've done away with that in the name of protecting it, which is freedom.
Right. You took away what we had and gave us less.
Yeah. You took our freedom, took the freedom from us in the name of freedom.
Right.
That's why it doesn't work. It's like people who burn our flag. Oh, I have the First Amendment. Why do you have the First Amendment? Because of our flag. So you're going to burn the flag in the name of First Amendment. That's a ridiculous sentiment.
Right. And to me, that's a spit in the face at everybody that paid that ultimate price for that flag.
Correct.
And they should be treated as such.
Exactly.
That's heinous.
Well, I think we went through a lot. I'm going to start building up this channel more, doing different things on it. So this is our channel, specifically our channel.
Okay.
So we'll do a little bit on here every now and again. Guys, whoever tunes in, if you're tuning into this for the first time, would appreciate the like and the share and the comment. Help us break through this algorithm, grow this channel. This is the first video we're uploading on this channel. We've uploaded it nowhere else. It exists solely on this particular platform right now. So yes, please like, share, comment. Let us know what you think, what you want to hear. And we will be checking those comments. But thank you so much for taking the time. Do you want to say anything before we get out of here?
I appreciate everybody that showed up. I appreciate what we're doing here. Let's just keep doing it.
All right, guys, stay safe.
Have a good night.
My people of this country and we're under attack. They banning us, they cancel us for speaking the facts. If you man enough.
This is the Patriots Prayer Podcast. It's a tremendous show, one of the greatest shows in the history of the world.
This is Bryson Gray, and you are watching the Patriots Prayer.
PPN, you're doing the right thing.
On the Patriots Prayer Network. Thank you all.
PPN on your bumper.
I'm Tom McDonald. This is the Patriot Prayers Network. Check it out. Lots of good TV. Lots of cool people. Tune in. Keep it locked.
Know where I stand. I'm the white boy with the middle fingers in the air, dog. We don't give a what. 100 white boys gonna hold me down anywhere, dog. We think that you suck. My Patriots the craziest. They ain't afraid of breaking fists on faces. If you really wanna taste of this, no safety tip. The same mistake and spray the clip. I pray you miss, cause if you don't, they gon' go wacko. Automatic gun smoke like tobacco. Never hit a lady, but it's pretty hard to tell if you're a girl or a they, them. There's these, that, those. I ain't never gonna take a knee for the anthem. Smack them. I don't give a damn, can't stand them. Gang full of randoms. Fan with a handgun. Run up in your mansion, leave it all abandoned. I was raised to be brave to the grave. United States, we love the country that they've been corrupting. Go woke and go broker if you ain't obeyed. My people of this country and we're under attack. They banning us, they cancel us for speaking the facts. If you man enough, come stand with us, take USA back. And every time we pull up, all you're gonna see is America.